Hello and welcome to Matt's Mosh Pit, and tonight I'm going to do something special. I'm going to take Instagram to YouTube. But before I get started, I just want to say thank you so much for all the love and support you've shown me and my channel so far. It truly means a lot, and I could not do this without you. So folks, what do I mean by that? I should say that I do have an Instagram presence, and I really don't actually plug it enough on this channel. I would say it's still a young Instagram presence, so I can see why it hasn't drawn a lot of people at this point. But I do have an Instagram presence, and it's at Matt's Mosh Pit 1, and so feel free and not sign up, not subscribe, it's follow. Feel free and follow, and that way we can chat. And the cool thing is, I know there are certain people that do follow this channel that have also followed me on Instagram, and it's actually a cool way to chat outside of just leaving comments. And you guys know who you are, and we do have a lot longer conversations via Instagram versus the actual comments on the various videos that I do. And it's super cool. I love it. So definitely hit me up on Instagram if you choose to do so. Anyway, I've been on Instagram for a bit, and especially this week, for some reason, I keep seeing these, like, everybody keeps filling out this concert template. It's like your first concert, your best concert, worst concert, all of that kind of good stuff. And I immediately wanted to do a post and answer all of those questions. My problem is I talk too much, and I wanted to add context to my answers. And so you can't really do that based on the template that's there. So I figured, you know what? I'm just going to do a video, and I'll answer all the questions that are on the same exact Instagram concert template, or I don't know what it is. It's a viral thing that everybody's doing. Call me old fashioned at this point because I don't know the name of whatever it's called. I'm going to say the concert template. Anyway, so I do have a cheat sheet in front of me. I pulled the questions, and it's the exact same questions that everybody's answering on Instagram. With that being said, let me just go ahead and get right into it. So question number 1 is the first concert. So what was my very first concert? There's actually 2 answers to this one, and I believe it should be broken down by first concert I've ever attended, whether I wanted to or not. That would be Roy Orbison. Roy Orbison, if you're not familiar with him, was kind of big in the 50s and 60s and probably even 70s. He sang the song Pretty Woman most notably. And he was around the whole Elvis era, Sun Records, and my dad was a huge, huge Roy Orbison fan. And so he took me to see him live, and I will say this was in the 80s. I did not know who he was going into the show. After the show, I became a fan. Unfortunately, he passed away about 6 months or so after the show that I saw, so I was very fortunate to have been able to see him. But I would say that's not a show that I actually, paid for the tickets. I was, or begging my parents to take me to, anything like that. So that's why I think there's a 2-part question. I think the real answer is the first concert that I actively wanted to go to where I, paid for tickets and went in for something that I truly enjoyed was, Bon Jovi, and I think it was like 1987 or 1988 on the Slippery When Wet tour, and it was awesome. It was like I said, it was my very first show that I actively wanted to go to, and I was a huge Bon Jovi fan. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm one of those people who, saw him, and John Bon Jovi was like my hero as a kid, growing up and whatnot. And even to this day, I have been a Bon Jovi loyalist, where I literally have, every time they play live and I have the ability to go see them, I've gone to see them. I still buy the albums, even though they have not been good in probably a decade. um, I'm that guy who, I guess the 12-year-old in me, or however old I was at the time, it kicks in and I feel nostalgic and I have to go, and I still buy the albums. I still do all of that stuff. So I still carry a torch for Bon Jovi. And so that was the first concert. Two answers for the first concert. Question number 2 is the last concert I went to. This is a one answer question. So I went last Sunday. I took my son to see his favorite trap rapper. Ken Carson is his name, and it was a sold out show in a club, and I was forbidden from vlogging from it. My son wants nothing to do with what dad does on the side. So I was forbidden from vlogging from it. I will say that I listen to all kinds of music. I do like some rap and hip hop and EDM and all kinds of different music that probably doesn't get highlighted and probably as much on this channel, but I really do like all kinds. And so I really want to foster the love of music, with my son. So I'm happy to take him to, his favorite artist. I will say it's not for me. He has a huge Ken Carson has a huge following, and, good on him for that. But it definitely was not for me. It was it was the opposite of everything I look for in a concert. So I can just say it was not for me, and don't expect to see a vlog for it because I was forbidden, and I'm honoring my son's rules when it comes to taking him to concerts. So yeah, the last concert I went to was Ken Carson. But number 4, oh no, I'm skipping number 3. This is why I shouldn't read at the same time. Number 3 is the worst concert. I think for this one, I should have 2 answers as well. Because it's the same thing as the first question in a weird sort of way. There's concerts I've been to that I didn't necessarily want to go to, and I wasn't, they're not for me, but I'm taking one for the team, for lack of better terms. And then there's concerts that I actively wanted to go see, wanted to pay for, and they let me down. So that's kind of the criteria I'm going with on this one. So I will say the worst concert I've ever seen was a concert I didn't actively want to go see, and quite frankly, it was the last concert I went to, the Ken Carson show. I will say that the crowd loved what they saw, and I can honestly say his music is not for me. But for me, I look for, like stage performance. I look for, I like to see bands play music. In this case, because it was trap rap or whatever, the music was all piped in and it was straight auto tune, and he really didn't do anything. There was one scaffolding and he just went back and forth on the scaffold. It just, to me, the other thing too is I always look for bands who act like they want to be there, and it's the little things like, hey, it's good to be back in Washington, D.C. Thank you for coming out. Little things like that mean a lot to me still. Like, and I know a lot of times bands don't even remember where they are, but in this case, there was no conversation in between songs. It was like as if somebody just hit play on the tape machine for an hour. And by the way, the set was only an hour, which in a weird way I should be thankful for. But it was like they just hit play and everything was just auto-tune mimicked, and then everybody left. So for me, that was definitely, I think, the worst concert I've ever been to. But in fairness, it wasn't one that I wanted to go to. So when you look at concerts that I actually wanted to go to and paid for and was really, really excited to go to, but I was let down, that would have to be the Red Hot Chili Peppers. That was it was in the early 90s. I feel like it was early 90s, maybe mid 90s. And I was a huge fan of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And I will say from the Mother's Milk album and below, um, Blood Sugar Sex Magic, I think, is probably their biggest album and one that most people, hold on to. I enjoyed it, but I didn't love it. Mother's Milk for me was the better of the albums. But either way, I was super excited to see them. In my head, I envisioned their performance being way better than it actually was. In fairness to them, they've been around for, at this point, 35 years or something, maybe 40 years. I don't know what it is. And they still do great numbers as far as crowds when they perform live. So maybe I hit a wrong night. It could have just been a bad night, which I'm definitely willing to give somebody the benefit of the doubt. But they just really seemed to, it just felt like they just mailed it in. It felt like they didn't want to be there. The opening act outperformed them. And the opening act was kind of a one-hit wonder band. So that's really sad. And I just felt like, man, how awful could this be? Like, they didn't want to be there. And then eventually I didn't want to be there. And so that for me, it always just sticks out as, that was, if anybody asked me worst concert I've been to, that's the one that always kind of sticks out. So unfortunately, and actually from there on out, I have not really been a fan of the band either. So their music. So that one really did a number on me now that I think about it. Okay. So number 4 is the loudest concert. In the loudest concert, hands down, is Guns N' Roses. Skid Row opened up. It was in like 1991. I actually did a video on this particular show. And I don't know if I mentioned how loud it was, but it was one of those where up until this year, I never really wore like ear protection. And I just figured, I'm young, I can handle anything. And I just remember when Slash's guitar solo was going on, it was just definitely just my ears were ringing, and I've never had that in any other concert. Like I went to so many other loud shows, but that one was just noticeably loud. I do believe they're in like the Guinness Book of World Records for having like the loudest show, not the one that I went to, but I think it was around that same tour. So maybe it just, it is what it is, but that was definitely the loudest show I've ever been to. Okay. Number 5 is the best concert. And it's actually kind of a good segue. I've been to a ton of amazing shows. And this is really one of those where if you ask me on a different day, I might give you a different answer. But the one that sticks out to me, the one that is kind of the bar or the benchmark for me is actually that Guns N' Roses Skid Row show. And I've already mentioned it. I did a video on that particular show. I feel like it was probably about 5 or 6 months ago, and I was just talking about the best concert I've ever been to. I have been to a ton of great shows, but I will say from that show on, that's the show that if I'm ever comparing, my brother went to the Guns N' Roses show with me too. So every time I come back and I go, oh my gosh, I just saw this great band. The show is just amazing. And they did this and this and this and this and this. He always goes, was it as good as Guns N' Roses and Skid Row? And I'm like, maybe it's close. So that show is always going to be my benchmark. So I guess I have to answer that as the greatest, even though I've seen so many amazing shows. That's just the one that really stands out. And I will say that's seeing them in their heyday. I've seen Guns N' Roses since, and it's not even close. But back in the heyday when Axl was king, that was, I guess part of it. But anyway, okay, number 6 is the band you've seen the most. Okay, so this one's, I guess in a weird way, it's kind of a 3-parter. and this is one of the reasons why I can't just post this on Instagram without putting context to it. So there are bands that are local bands or national bands, but they're from this area that I've seen a ton of times just because they play a lot more frequently. They play regular clubs, all of that kind of good stuff. I'll use an example. There's a band called Kicks who, if you look at my channel and you look in the concert section, I have their final performance on this channel. And Kicks is one of those bands that they're from this area, so I've seen them in every type of venue, every type of scenario. It's just they play much more frequently, so the number, I couldn't even tell you how many times I've seen them. It's just a crazy number. I wouldn't even know where to begin. So I can't really count those kind of acts, at least for this particular question. So then there's I think I want to break it down to overall musician, I guess, and then metal, because I think the majority of you are here for the metal answer. But I've also mentioned this in previous videos. I'm a huge fan of, I listen to all kinds of music, but I'm a huge fan of Alanis Morissette, and I know she's not metal, probably will never do metal. It's just, as I always say, the heart wants what the heart wants. And I have seen Alanis at least 30 times, and all different venue types, all different, just throughout the years. And so she, I think, holds the most shows that I've been to. As far as metal goes, it would have to be Metallica. I've seen Metallica 15 plus times. Always, you don't need me to tell you, always a great show. Metallica never disappoints. And so the only thing that's disappointing when it comes to Metallica is I'm a fan of the Black Album and below and not the stuff afterwards. And fortunately, when you see them live, they still predominantly play all the stuff that I like. My problem with them is ticket pricing has gone up so much that they've almost priced me out from seeing them, because it comes down to, I've already seen them 15 times. I just can't pay for X amount, considering I think the first time I saw them, I think I paid $12.50, $12. And now I think the latest tour was like $800, like for 2 nights or something. It was something crazy. And that's not even good seats. So, they just basically, unfortunately, priced me out of, going to see them again. Those are the bands I've seen the most. Let's see. Most surprising. The most surprising has to be Iron Maiden. And I will say this, some of you probably already know the story, but if you don't, here it goes. When Prince passed away, it really, really hit me hard. And it was because I was always a fan of Prince. I wouldn't say like the biggest fan of Prince, but I've always had a lot of respect for him. I've really, enjoyed his music. Purple Rain, the album, is probably in my top 5 all-time albums. Just what you grow up with and all that kind of good stuff. So anyway, I've always been a fan, I'd say more of a casual fan. And over the years, probably about 3 times, I've had opportunities to see Prince live, but for whatever reason, it didn't happen, whether it be, he was playing while I was on vacation, or he was, something happened and I just never got around to see him. So when he passed away, I was crushed, because I always thought that there would be someday I would go see him. And so when that happened, I started paying attention to legacy acts out there. That all the bands that you hear, they're just in the ether, whether you like them or are not familiar with them or what. I kind of went in this phase where I just wanted to give respect to those kind of bands. And as luck would have it, I got a gift card to Ticketmaster, and I didn't have an immediate concert to go to, so I was just holding on to it. A week later, I saw a commercial for Iron Maiden coming to town, and it was the Legacy of the Beast tour in 2022. And at that time, I'd really only heard Run to the Hills before in my life. I'd never heard anything else, but I knew that they were a legacy act. They had been around forever. It just wasn't something that I was necessarily, in on. And so I decided, hey, why not? Let me just get tickets. I brought a friend of mine who was a huge Iron Maiden fan, and going to see them live without really knowing anything that they do. And fortunately for me, that show was kind of a greatest hits. It was just mind blowing. It was just amazing. And the fans were just super cool, super friendly. Just the overall vibe was insane. And, you guys know, you don't need me to tell you how great Iron Maiden is. And so Iron Maiden basically, once I left that show, I was like, man, I need to know everything. And so I listened to all 17 albums just back to back to back. I was watching as much as I could possibly, watch, all the documentaries, all that kind of stuff. And that changed my YouTube algorithm to where they started showing me bands like Powerwolf and Sabaton and these, power metal bands. And then Arch Enemy and stuff like that. And that's when I realized, wait a minute, there's so much music out there that I just am not even where would I hear it? None of this gets played on the radio here. And I realized there's so much stuff that I love out there that I just wasn't aware of. And then it was like, wait a minute, I could do a channel. I could, I want to learn these things. And so that really, from, I guess, Prince passing away, but that Iron Maiden show, that literally is the catalyst for me doing this channel. And it's been such an amazing ride, to be able to 2 years ago, I went to that show, and, now I have this channel, amazing people like you guys watching it, meeting people from all over the world. It's literally the coolest thing, all because of those events, but mainly that concert. So most surprising, hands down, Iron Maiden. Okay. So number 8, the band that I happy I got to see. And, for me, I think there's 2 that stand out. And once again, this is one of those where you could ask me 2 weeks from now and you might get a different answer. But I think the first 2 that come to my head, and it's 100%, I think, a tie. First one is Rage Against the Machine. And I know Rage Against the Machine recently retired, but quite frankly, let's be honest, they haven't played in forever. They did do that little tour in America, but I didn't go to see that. But I saw Rage Against the Machine about 5 times back in their heyday. So back when they were, young and wild and all of that. And it makes me feel good because I know there's a lot of fans that are later fans who they go, man, you got to see Rage Against the Machine? Yep. Saw them back in the day. And I have a lot of great memories from those shows. Those shows were fantastic. And so I do hold that as kind of like a badge of honor that I was able to see, Rage when they were in their heyday. And so that's definitely one of them. The other one is Linkin Park. I saw Linkin Park probably 5 or 6 times as well back in the day. Sad to say, I actually had tickets to see them the day after Chester passed away, or he passed away at nighttime, and literally that next day I had tickets for that show. And I remember one of my friends texting me saying I wasn't going to that Linkin Park show, and I was like, yeah, I am. And then it was like, hey, check out the news. And so that was pretty soul crushing. Like I said, I was fortunate enough to see them, multiple times back in their heyday. So that's something I'm definitely, proud and happy that I got to see as well. I feel very fortunate for those. Let's see. I'm sure there's more, but those are the two that definitely stick out. Okay, number 9 is wish I could have seen. Let me think. I think the one thing that I've been fortunate about is I've seen pretty much everybody that I've wanted to see. Okay, well, I mentioned Prince. I think Prince, once again, being the catalyst for this whole thing, is clearly somebody that I wanted to see, and that unfortunately I won't be able to see. So Prince is definitely hands down that. From a metal perspective, if we're just kind of sticking with more of the theme of this channel, wish I could have seen, I would say Children of Bodom would stick out too. I did not find them until after Alexi had passed away. So that's a band that I think if they were still touring and Alexi were around, I absolutely would be getting tickets as soon as they came to my area. And it's unfortunate that I'm, never going to be able to see Children of Bodom in their hate, but I think those are two that I definitely wish I could see. And I'm sure when I really think about it, I'm sure after I record this whole thing, I'm going to go, damn, why didn't I remember this one? But those are the two that pop up in my head right now. Number 10 is the next concert. The next concert that I'm going to is actually in 2 weeks, I believe. I'm going to see, it's less than 2 weeks now that I think about it. Yeah. I'm going to see Powerwolf with Unleash the Archers, and I am super excited for that. I love both bands equally, and I wish it was like a double headlining type of show. Unleash the Archers is the opener or the special guest, as they'd say. But so I know their set's not going to be as long as I would personally hope it would be. But either way, I can't complain. I love both bands, and I'm just super excited for that show. You can definitely count on me vlogging from that show. It's going to be awesome. I've been waiting for it for such a long time. It's going to be great. So yeah, that is the next concert that I'm going to as of recording this video. And I had to think about that because I'm like, what if you watch this, a month from now or 2 months from now? And reality is, folks, starting in September, I have 5 concerts a month until the end of the year. And that is crazy, along with some trips and stuff like that. So it's going to be busy. If any more concerts come up, I'll probably add them to the list. Hopefully they'll wait till next year, because I think I'm already tired just thinking about it. Anyway, that was the Instagram concert post that I'm not putting on Instagram because I wanted to talk I wanted to talk a lot about it. So Instagram post for YouTube. So folks, I have to know what you guys think about this. I want to know really what I love about these posts is I love to hear like what your bands are, what your favorite show was, worst concert, everything that I just answered. I kind of want to hear from you guys. So please, 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 in the comments, if you don't feel like doing all 10, I totally understand it, because, nobody has all this time to write everything down. But if you already have it, if you've already posted it on Instagram or something like that, share your post. I really want to know what you guys think are your first concerts, favorite concerts, all that. Please, please, please let me know in the comments. I think this stuff is super fun, and as soon as I saw it on Instagram, I was like, man, I have to do this. And then I just got in my head and I was like, I can't just write one answer for each thing. I got to talk more about it. So let me just do a YouTube. And so if you like this stuff too, I know it's not a reaction, I know it's not a concert vlog, but if you like stuff like this as well, let me know, because I definitely would like to do stuff that is not just reactions. And I will say those kind of videos serve multiple purposes. It's not the same old, from a reaction perspective, but also you guys should know that just about every reaction I do is copywritten. So I'm not doing this for the money. I'm definitely not doing this for the money. Because anybody will tell you there's really no money to be made unless you're like, those people that are huge that have those like plaques behind you, the YouTube plaques, which I don't. If I did, I'd probably have it like right here, just going, hoo-hoo. I'm not even near that. But anyway, it does help because from what I understand from a copyright perspective is the more you get copywritten, the less that YouTube algorithm net goes out. And I don't even know if that's just the rumor, because you never really know how these algorithms work. So if I can do videos that don't get copywritten, maybe a wider net will come out. I don't really know. Just a thought. So it's kind of cool to do something different. Anyway, that's my thought process. So if you like this kind of stuff, just let me know in the comments. It would be greatly appreciated. If this is the worst thing ever and you don't, you can tell me that too. Try to be kind about it. I don't want to, get my feelings hurt. But anyway, if you like the video, please hit the like button. If you have not already subscribed, please hit the subscribe button. It truly means a lot. I am trying my hardest to figure out this whole YouTube algorithm. And I believe subscriptions and likes and shares and all that kind of good stuff only make that net go further. And so we can do it together, folks. More importantly, please leave comments. The comments are, quite frankly, the reason why I do this. I love talking to you guys. And hit me up on Instagram too. Like I said, there are a certain group of people that already follow this channel that also follow on Instagram. And, we definitely have a lot of I'd say private conversations, or the instant message, whatever that is, on whatever they call it on Instagram. And it's super, super cool. Because a lot of times when somebody leaves a comment, you want to comment on the actual video that I did as far as that particular band. But if you want to tell me something that's not related to that particular reaction or video, Instagram is the best way to do it. And so, like I said, I've had a lot of great conversations with you guys through Instagram. So I might as well highlight the fact that I'm on Instagram, because I rarely ever do. So it's Matt's Mosh Pit 1 on Instagram. So please check it out. With that being said, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.